Now let's take a look at Change Tracker in our application. So we basically have the web project. Let me open Category Controller. Let me add some debugging points in index, upsert get, and upsert post action method. Perfect. Let me run the application here. Let me click on category here, and we hit our debugging point. Perfect. Let me go to debug, Windows, and I have watch. Let me open that. Here right now, I just want to track one item, and that is _db. There we have the change tracker. Inside there we have the dot entries. I want to track that. Perfect. Right now you can see it is not tracking any entities. If we press F10 once again, and now if we refresh the entries here, expand that, go to the result view, and perfect, if you scroll down here, we have about 16, while total 17 because it starts from 0, it is tracking 17 categories. If you go in the OBJ list, we have the count of 17. One thing to notice here is everything is in unchanged state right now. If you want more details, you can expand the 0th index here, and there are more details in there, but we don't need that right now. So we can see here that if something is retrieved and it is not updated, that will be in the unchanged state. So let me continue here. We will go back to the application, and we have quite a few categories here. Let me try to create a new category here. It hits our debugging point again, and this time if we refresh the entries here, the count will be 0. We are not tracking anything on the request. We directly return back to the view with 0 count. That is good. Now let me populate some details here like test3 and hit the create button. If I refresh the entries here, still the count is 0. Let me press F10, and we have the add async. Right now the entries will be 0, but as soon as the add async will be executed, there will be one entry, and you can see inside result view we only have one entry at the 0th index. In the summary here you can see the state is now added rather than unchanged. If we expand that, we have the metadata of category and state is added. And if you scroll up, we have some category ID. Now this is not the actual ID because we have not saved the changes right now. We are only telling dbset that hey, a category needs to be added. So perfect. With that, let me press F10, and we are on the save changes. Once I press F10 again, the entries are saved in the database. This time if we go to entries here and refresh here, you will notice we are still tracking that, but this time the state has been updated to unchanged, and we have the category ID. You can see how smart EF Core is with all the computation for the current state. So right now we have seen the added state as well as the unchanged state. Next, I want to show you the delete state. For that, let me continue here. We go back to the index, that is okay. If we go down, we will add a debugging point with delete here. And let me try to delete one of the category, test3 that we added. Perfect, we hit our debugging point here. The entries will be 0 because right now we are not tracking anything. But as soon as we go to first.default and retrieve a category from database, we will start to track that category. So now we will have one entry that we are tracking, and that category ID is the one that we created, which is 1002, and that is what EF Core is tracking. We press F10, and when we execute the remove here, it is not yet removed from the database, but you can see the state is updated to deleted. So when we save the changes, EF Core will take a look at all the entities that it is tracking, and if their state is anything other than unchanged, then it will do the corresponding operation. Like if it was added, it would create that. If it is deleted, it would remove that, and then we have updated. So let me continue here, and that category will be deleted. And then finally, let me try to edit here to see what happens. We will update that to be cat7, let's say. Hit the update button. We hit our breakpoint here, and we will press F10 here. We will go into update. Right now it won't be tracking anything, and the count is 0, but when we update, based on the ID, it automatically updates that, and it will start tracking that. So right here, the category ID is modified now, and it will be updating the values. When we hit continue here, that entity will be updated, and perfect, we have that right here. So with that, you can see how smart EF Core is on how it tracks the entity and what operation it needs to perform.